Thanks for joining another video. Today we're going to be tying this upside down hare's ear, and call it an upside down simply because we're tying it on a jig hook, and we're going to be putting the wing case on the underside. So as this fly fishes, it's going to be riding like so. Therefore, we want to give the look that this is the top of the fly. So everything's tied the same essentially until we get to the wing case. We simply flip it upside down. Fairly simple fly altogether. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a hare's ear. And you can sort of mix and match the colors and stuff. I'm going to go with a more natural, more buggy looking color variations. So we'll give it a go. So for my hook, I'm just using a size 14 jig hook, and that is accompanied by a 3.8 millimeter tungsten bead. So I want that a sort of overly exaggerated head. And for my thread, I'm going to be using some rusty brown 70 denier. If I do miss any sort of ingredients, I'll be sure to list them in the description below. So be sure to check that out as well. And let's get started here. So I'm just going to start right up against the bead here. And to help keep that bead in place, I'm just going to build a little thread dam. So I'm going to push that up into position and just build a little bit of a thread dam here until that's not moving. That's good to go there. And then bring my thread back down to just before the bend of the hook. For the tail, I'm just going to be using some grizzly. Love grizzly just because of the different patterns and just the overall look of it. Trying to keep those tips aligned as best as possible. And on this fly, I do like a kind of a stubbier, shorter tail. But I'm just going to do two kind of collecting wraps, see where things are at. And that's just a little too short. So I'm going to go a little bit longer here. Yeah, that's better there. And I'm going to use the ends here to help build my taper in my fly here. I'm going to go a little bit further back. I do want a longer body. I do want to showcase the body. For the ribbing, I'm just going to be using some opal tinsel here. Cut off a little piece. And I'm going to tie that onto the near side. Secure that all the way up. Now, if you want at this point, you can help yourself and build a little bit of a taper with your thread, or you can build a taper with the hare's ear dubbing that we're going to be doing. Kind of do both. Just a little taper with my thread there. And I'm just going to be grabbing some natural hare's ear here. You can wax your thread as well if you find it easier. And I'm probably going to build, I'd say about 1.5 to 2 inches of dubbing here in my noodle. May need more, and I like to have my noodles pretty tight with hare's ear, and I can add more if needed. So I'm just going to add a touch more here, just a little short. There we go. And it's okay. I mean, if you come a little bit closer to the bead here, we're going to be going back a little bit anyway. And now with our tinsel, I'm going to counter wrap this just to add some durability to the fly. And I want at least 3 segments. And then I'll capture that. And now I'm going to bring my thread back to where I want to start my wing case. And you can notice I flipped the fly upside down at this point. And that's good about there. I may bring it back a bit. This little hair is going to drive me nuts. For the wing case, I'm just using some brown scud back. I like this one because it's got quite a bit of transparency to it. So the dubbing that we're going to use to create our legs is going to be able to pop through a bit here. So this is where things can get a little tricky as well, because you can't grab the top depending on what kind of vise you have. So like my vise, I can't really grab it from here. So what I will do is I'll try to get this positioned or to the length as close as possible on the side, and then with my first wrap I'm going to use the thread torque. So as I start to wrap, it pulled it to the center for me. I'll just do 2 collecting wraps, make sure it's nice and centered. It's a little long, so I'm going to try to pull it shorter, and I pulled it out. I'm just going to do that again by placing it on the side. I'm going to use my thread torque to help center it. And we're going to try to pull short a little bit more. It's good there. I just want that a little bit more centered. So I'm just using my nail here to put pressure and turn it. And then I'll lock that down. So it's a little short. I'm actually going to go back a little bit further. I do want that wing case to pop. Now for the legs, choices are endless again, but I mean, you can use a hen feather if you're more comfortable using hen. I'm actually going to use some squirrel dub. So I got this natural blend squirrel dub here that has got some great guard hairs that I think work well for a smaller nymph like this. And I've toyed with doing dubbing loops or splitting my thread and putting it in. But they just end up a little too long for my liking. So what I do is I'm just going to dub this into a noodle. Just kind of loose, not crazy tight like I did the body. We don't need that much. But I do want to make sure that wing case has got a nice little bump in the center there. So we'll go on a little thick here and see how that goes. So that's looking just about right. Tighten this one up a bit. And now any fibers like this that are sticking out, you can't just kind of wet your fingers, preen it back, and do a wrap to capture them like that. And we're going to flip over our wing case. Before we do that, so you can see there what I did here, and now I just got fibers kind of sticking forward, sticking to the side. So if you have some of these hairs that are sticking out, again, just kind of wet your fingers and just kind of gently preen them down and back. Just like that. And we're going to capture our scud back. Make sure it's nice and centered. And just putting some more tension on there, really locking it in. And with scud back, if you give it a slight stretch and cut it close, it'll suck in underneath the thread wraps there. That's not bad. We'll clean up some of these longer ones. But now we're ready for a quick little 3-turn whip finish. I want to make sure that collar looks kind of nice, even on the bottom as well. You never know. I'm going to do another one here. Cut your thread. Now we're almost done. And now I'm going to put some UV resin on. I want to make a nice dramatic bump, almost from the eye of the hook right to the beginning of the wing case. For that, I'm just going to grab some thin UV resin. I'm going to start with a little bit. Get rid of those air bubbles. Start with a bit. Make sure it gets in everywhere. Let it settle in for a bit. And then hit that with the torch for about 10 seconds. And now I'm going to shape it. Now I'm going to use a little bit more resin, and I'm going to start to shape it a little bit more to what I want. So it's a little big. I'm just going to move this down just a bit. With my bodkin needle point here, I'm just ever so slightly moving that UV resin. And that's why I put a preliminary base down because it makes it easier to manipulate and shape it the way you want once you have a thin coat underneath. Now we're going to torch that. Now it's just some minor little cleanup. Some of these are a little long. So with my tweezers, I'm just plucking them out. I do want that body to come out with the ribbing. Um, and for my legs, I only want them to come out on the sides. So with my Velcro, I'm just going to ever so slightly brush out the sides of that squirrel dub that we did on the collar there. Just like that. And I got a couple extra long ones. There you have it. So that is one upside down hare's ear in a jig style. So that bad boy will fish upside down. So when you tie it onto your tippet, it will in fact fish just like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Hope you guys give it a shot. Trying different colors, different sort of browns, earth tones, maybe even some olives if you have that in your water. But the jig hook itself, I mean, I'm sure it saved me from a lot of tangles and weeds and little branches under logs where the fish just love to hide. So give it a shot. Hope you enjoyed that one. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.